All right, welcome back to another episode of Bullyball. Figured last second that we'd go live just to talk about what we're looking forward to in training camp. Um, Before we get this video started, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Drop, these last two videos that we've done have been pretty low on views. So if you guys are still watching with us, drop a comment, drop a like, subscription. Trying to get to 100 subscribers before the actual season starts. Um, Next week, we have a special guest on, so tune in for that one. It should be a fun one. Going to get a lot of good information from a crucial player on the Super Bowl teams back in the 80s and 90s. So make sure you tune in for that. It'll be a fun one for sure. How you doing over there in Florida, Joe?
Doing good, like you said, we just wanted to talk about a training camp. Um, the views have been low, so we're like, hey, we might as well go live because if they're gonna be low, might as well try to converse with some people. Didn't give anybody a chance to know that we were going live, so if nobody tunes in, it's all right. But let's jump right in and talk training camp.
Yeah, let's do it. What's the first thing you're looking forward to when it comes to the training camp?
So obviously, when it comes to training camp, the first thing I look forward to is the pads coming on. We've been in all these mini camps, rookie mini camp, normal mini camp, and people show, you know, there's two different types of players. It's kind of like the ones they say the weekend or what do they say
The
the
weekend
warriors
warriors.
in tights or whatever um, at the combine. And then you have some people that, they don't look as good at the combine, and maybe they're a football player, like Jawan Jennings, for example. Didn't do good at the combine, went late, was on the practice squad, but then once the pads come on, you really start to see the player because he plays with physicality. So that's what I'm looking forward to most. Some people at the mini camps they were saying weren't doing too well. Maybe when the pads come on, we'll start to see some things from those people.
Yeah, I think it'll be good too because I feel like in training camp you get a lot more media coverage, so you're gonna see a lot of the highlight plays and all that type of stuff. Like Joseph said, obviously I'm excited for the pads too because that's what really separates the true football players from the 7-on-7 guys. A lot of people can look good 7-on-7. Once you start getting pads and hitting and actually filling holes and all that type of stuff, then that's going to be a game changer.
And
One of the go ahead.
it is unfortunate because that's when you start to see a lot of the injuries start rolling in. Um, and it seems to happen every year to the 49ers, training camps going on, you get the notification on your phone, oh, one of the best, one of the players that's supposed to contribute the most out. And it happens to every team, but it does seem to happen the most to the 49ers since that's who we pay attention to. So it's kind of a nerve-wracking time as well.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things I'm looking forward to, though, specifically, is the offensive line. I'm going to be looking at the offensive line, looking at the reports and everything, seeing what comes out of there. Because I want to see how Jake Brendel holds up, being a full-time starter at center, how he's doing with Trey Lance, how he's doing in the pass pro, run blocking. I think that'll be interesting. See, I want to also hear about Aaron Banks because, supposedly the Niners coaches were high on Banks at the end of the year last year, but they were just saying, oh, we have two guys that are playing better than him. So it'll be very interesting to hear the reports that come out. Is he looking big and slow like he was at the training camp last year? Or is he looking lean and athletic, laying dudes out? That'll be interesting. Also want to see Donovan West and Jason Poe, of course, who we had on the podcast before. I want to see if they end up making the team, if they can end up providing some type of impact on this year, or if they're going to be practice squad players. I think that'll be interesting as well.
Yeah, and speaking of Jake Brendel, he I don't know if he posted the video or somebody did, but Trey Sermon posted a video of him training this past week. I forget what gym it was at, but they were doing like it looked like Alvin Kamara style workouts, like balancing on the half medicine ball type thing, moving a ball around, working the core strength. And I saw Trey Sermon, but then I also saw Jake Brendel was there with him doing that. So those are two players that I'm interested in seeing at training camp. Trey Sermon is kind of an interesting player in the fact that like when you think you thought of him coming out of college, you're like, yeah, he's a physical guy. But then last year on the 49ers, you see a guy that they say, hey, he won't hit the hole. Like he's just trying to avoid everybody. So, that'll be an interesting one. And then also Ty Davis Price. They said in the mini camps, dude did not look good. Like no hands. Um, he was lacking burst, things of that nature. But that is probably going to be the most physical running back in the running back room. And once training camp starts, it'll be interesting to see the reports of like, hey, this dude is hard to take down. This dude, like, he stays on his feet. I expect to hear some things like that.
Because I think Ty Davis Price coming out of college was known for his contact balance too,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to stay up and break tackles or break through arm tackles and things like that. And also another thing that was interesting before we move on was Jason Poe, I believe, was working out with Trent Williams down in Houston. So that's a good thing to see. I think Spencer Burford might have been there as well, possibly. So that's good too, because if you can surround yourself with greatness like Trent Williams, you're on the right path. You know what I mean? You learn some stuff and you're gonna get better just in general. So that's some things you like to see. Um, Another thing I don't know if I'm looking forward to it, but I'm just interested in seeing it, is how the Devo situation is gonna be handled. Are they gonna wait towards like the first preseason game like they did with Kittle and Fred Warner's contract? Or are they going to try to get it done before training camp? If they don't get it done before training camp, will Debo sit out training camp? Like, there's many possibilities that can go on with that situation. It'll be interesting. Is he just going to go and not participate in drills just so he can make his money? And I know there's been a lot of heat on Debo lately for that video of him not signing that kid's autograph at his camp. But he did clear it up that there was like over 400 campers, and it was against camp rules to sign individual specialized autographs like that unless you had an upgrade, I guess. Um, but every camper ended up getting a signed Debo picture and like an actual picture with Debo himself. So the heat on him is kind of unnecessary right now. That video was just thrown out there with no context. So Debo's not a bad dude.
Yeah, and that dude was a little sus, sending his little, I don't know if it was his kid or his nephew or something, and then recording the interaction. Like, the rules. Why are you trying to do that? Like, come on, man. But I'm pretty sure Kittle and Fred Warner were signed on the first day of training camp. I'm not
Was it the first day?
100%. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was the first day of training camp. Um, and I would expect the same with Debo. I think he's going to be signed that morning of the first day of training camp. That's just my thought. Could be wrong, but keep the receipt. I think he'll be signed on that morning. Um, Another interesting thing to look for at training camp is who's going to be the backup tight end. You know, Ross Dwelly and Charlie Warner have kind of been entrenched in that role, like kind of splitting reps depending on the situation. But the 49ers really have not had a prominent backup tight end since Delaney Walker was on the team. And I don't even know how long ago that was at this point. Um, but they have some guys, some vets with talent. Um, I think you'd like to see them actually get a backup tight end that is usable throughout the year because of, Kittle's injuries and stuff of that nature. And you don't want him on the field the whole time blocking. You want him to be able to run routes and not have to stay in and pass block all the time. So I think that'll be an interesting camp battle to watch for.
Yeah, definitely. There's going to be a lot of camp battles going on. Um, One of the things I'm looking forward to is the safety battle, between Talanoa Hufanga and George Odom. Because this offseason, it seems like to me that there's been a lot of hype on Hufanga, a lot of hype from players and coaches. So it'll be interesting to see if that actually comes to fruition. Because if Hufanga's looking good in minicamp, how we said, it was like the 7-on-7 warriors that are just looking crazy. That's not Hufanga's strong suit. His strong suit's physicality. They were saying that he could play linebacker when he was coming out of college. So if he's looking this good in minicamp, I expect big things in training camp. I expect him to win that position pretty easily if the rumors on him are true. So
And
pretty
I was a
interesting.
big fan of Tavarius Moore, that Super Bowl year. But then he had that injury, he hasn't played in a long time. I just am interested to see, where is he at as a person, like on the field, because we haven't heard anything through any of these camps or anything about Tarvarius Moore. So is he good to go? Is he going to get cut first couple cuts? What's going on with that guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. What's your next thing that you're looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the kick and punt returner situation because, they brought in Ray McLeod, we thought, to do that. But it's kind of interesting because it seems like Ray McLeod is going to have a bigger impact on offense than we thought initially. And if that's true, we know Kyle Shanahan hates, absolutely despises using like starting or players that play a lot on special teams. Like never wanted to use Pettis as a kick returner, punt returner, because he was getting reps at wide receiver. Never wanted to use who was the other one that was a good Ayuk.
Ayuk.
Yeah, never wanted to use Ayuk at kicker punt returner, even though he was good at it in college. Um, So it'll be interesting because every year it seems, hey, you bring in this high profile kick punt returner, and then they never end up getting used at that position. So I want to see if this year they finally say like, hey, we need to make it a priority because they said special teams was the priority this offseason. So we'll see who the kick and punt returner ends up being.
Yep, I agree. That's definitely interesting. So our special teams last year sucked. Who knows when the last time that we had a punt or kickoff return was? Probably like Ted
I
Ginn,
think
maybe.
no, I think it was Richie James back a couple
Oh
years
yeah,
back. Yeah.
yeah. I think so. I think you're right. Yeah. So it's been a while, probably over a couple years that we've had something like that. Um, One of the things I'm definitely looking forward to is off the defensive line because the depth there is ridiculous. You have Bosa, Ebukam, Toure, Charles Omenahu, Kerry Hyder. You have a bunch of dudes. Even on the interior, you still have Armstead, Kinlaw, Ridgeway, Mo Hurst, among some other guys too. So it'll be interesting to see how those positions play out. And I want to see, do we know if Kinlaw's going to be back for training camp or is he probably not?
I mean, I would think so. Don't
Yeah.
100% know, but I would hope so.
I mean, even if he is back too, I would assume that they're not going to throw a bunch at him just because of his injury history. So But it'll be interesting to see if he can make some plays, with the little amount of time that he gets. So that'll be interesting to see. I'm also focusing in on Kerry Hyder. I want to see if he can get back to his form in 2018 with the Niners. Or was it 2019, 2020 maybe actually?
2020, I think it was 2020.
Yeah, 2020
It
is
was
crazy.
the down year. He was our best D
Yeah.
lineman.
Yeah. So I want to see if he can get back to that level, or is he over that bridge and he's at like what he was with the Seahawks last year, and he only had 2.5 sacks. So it'll be interesting to see if Chris Kasarik can actually bring out the best in him again, or if it's just that time, that he's just not going to do it. Because I think one or two of those D linemen that we're really high on is probably either going to get traded or cut just because the depth. It's gonna be the same as last year, So that'll be interesting. One of the
Yeah,
things I'm definitely looking forward to.
I'm interested in seeing if Mo Hurst can come on this year. When the Raiders cut him and Arden Key, I think I was probably more excited about Mo Hurst than Arden Key, just because Mo Hurst actually showed on the field that he can play in the NFL. And, he unfortunately had all those injuries last year, but hopefully he's healthy. And, hopefully he can make an impact on the D line this year. And also, Drake Jackson, I want to see how he shows up to camp. People were saying, hey, put on some bad weight. He's looking like a little sloppy. I want to see how he shows up and performs day one of training camp.
Yeah, I agree. Because like you said, they thought that he put on bad weight. That he was just putting on weight to put on the weight to look bigger for the scouts, but they said it was like fat. It wasn't really muscle. I totally forgot about Drake Jackson. So yeah, because all these people saying great things about him too. Oh, he has this crazy bend. Oh, this, that, the other. Let's actually see it with the pads. Let's see it with the pads. Let's see you beat Trent Williams or even somebody we haven't talked about in a while, Mike McGlinchey. I want to see him back too. How is his leg going to hold up? That terrible injury a lot of players probably don't come back from. It'll be interesting to see if he can come back and even be, I mean, I don't want to say half of his self because his full self wasn't the best, but it'll be interesting to see if he can put together something on that right side. So that'll be another thing to watch for.
And realistically, like you said, if the 49ers do not lead the NFL in sacks this year, it would be a major disappointment. Just the sheer amount of talent on the edge is disgusting.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa, you'd expect to have close to 20 sacks this year. Kamoko Toure looks like just a great pass rusher. He looks like he has everything to put it together this year on the edge. You forgot someone else. I forget who was the guy. Oh, Ebukam.
Yeah.
Ebukam started putting it together at the end of last year. And Charles O'Menahue was my guy that I said, hey, he's going to break out this year. But just the sheer amount of depth. If a quarterback has time to throw this year, I'm going to be disappointed.
I mean, I honestly think the 49ers probably have one of the best defenses in the NFL, just looking at it on paper. The depth on the D line. They may not have the names, the Chargers, Khalil Mack, JC Jackson, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, all the big names. But they have depth. And I'd rather have depth than have like those 4 star players and then that's it. Because you look at our D line, how we just went over the depth on the D line is crazy. You look at your corners, you got one of the best corners according to the stats, in Charvarius Ward. You brought back Jason Verrett. Emmanuel Mosley is still super solid. And then Ambry Thomas came on at the end of the year, too, to see what role he'll have. So there's a lot of depth at corner. Look at safety. Jimmy Ward, I think, is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He's a great sideline to sideline safety, come up in the box. He can do a lot of things, very versatile. The other safety spot we touched on, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but that's only one position that's really like week. So I think the Niners definitely have one of the best defenses in the NFL going into this year on paper, and if they can stay healthy.
Speaking of that, that's another interesting to look forward to at training camp. Um, you know, we remember the past couple years with Jimmy G in training camp. You hear the reports, Jimmy G threw 4 interceptions in one practice. It'll be interesting to see Trey Lance get some reps against the ones on defense this year. You know, what are we going to hear at camp? Oh, 49ers defense looks terrible because Trey Lance is tearing them up. Or are we going to hear the same? The defense is toying with them. That'll be an interesting storyline to see once all the reporters and everyone are there.
I have a question for you. What would you rather hear? Would you rather hear Trey Lance is just like the defense looks terrible because Trey Lance is just Dyson, or would you rather hear the defense is looking like amazing and Trey's just throwing picks or incomplete passes?
I think I'd rather hear that Trey looks amazing just because, the fans terrorize this guy. The media terrorizes this guy. Like when Jimmy was doing that, we heard about it, but then everyone's like, oh, whatever, it's practice. If Trey does it, it's just, I don't know why, man, but just I would rather it be that way. What about you?
Yeah, I think so too. Like you said, there's already so much pressure on Trey, especially that's another thing we didn't even talk about yet was the Jimmy G situation. Is he still going to be on the team at training camp? Is he going to show up to training camp and be competing, or is he going to be off the team before that? We'll see. Either way, there's going to be immense pressure and eyeballs on Trey Lance this whole training camp. So I think in terms of his confidence, I think it'd be better if he was dicing up the defense for sure.
Supposedly, we should be seeing a video this week or some of Jimmy G throwing. So that's what I'm expecting to see this week,
Yeah.
but we'll see. Also, how do you feel about the Eagles signing Tart for 2.5 million for 1 year?
I was a big advocate for Tart coming back this year. I know you were opposed to it. I thought Tart was a great safety. I know a lot of people hate on him because of that dropped pick in the championship, but I mean, the dude has brick hands. What do you expect? He's on defense for a reason. I would have loved to bring him back. I don't know if the Niners could have afforded it, but I would have loved to bring because I know last year I think he was making like 900,000 or something, and now he's making
Yeah.
2.5. So it's
Which is
interesting.
surprising. It is surprising that he gets paid so little. There's some terrible people playing in the league and paid way more, and then this guy just don't get paid for some reason. Kinda
Yeah,
kinda weird to me.
yeah,
And
definitely.
I would have been fine bringing him back at that price. That's cheap. Like I
Yeah.
thought he would get maybe like 5 or 6 mil a year, and I was like, yeah, at that point, let him go. But I just don't understand why he doesn't get paid.
Who do you view as the two biggest threats to the 49ers in terms of like making the NFC championship or anything like that? So like on the NFC side, who do you view as the two biggest threats?
The two top teams in the NFC side this year. Huh, that's a tough one. I don't think the Packers. I think they're on a down year. Obviously the Rams, probably the Rams and the Bucks, you know. Yeah, two easiest ones to pick.
Yeah.
Um wouldn't be surprised if Jameis can put together a good year. Would not be surprised if it was the Saints cuz absolutely loaded at every single position this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jameis had a good year. Them being up there, uh,
Eagles,
Vikings
like
are
you just
always Vikings are always loaded, but I don't like Kirk Cousins. I don't think they could win
yeah.
with them.
Eagles, like
E-
you said, they got AJ Brown.
yeah,
Their
Eagles got a
defense,
good
they got a lot of
team.
guys in defense.
I just I love Jalen Hurts for fantasy. Don't know about him, winning big games yet though. But I'd say maybe the Rams, the Bucks, and then my sleeper team, probably the Saints. this year. What about you?
Yeah. Probably have to say the same. The Saints are interesting. I think the Eagles are going to surprise a lot of people because they have a lot of talent. They have a lot of young talent that can show up and produce. Um, so I would say Rams, uh, Rams, Bucks, because Brady's going to be Brady. And then I'd have to say the Eagles is like a little surprise team for sure.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing riding on this season is obviously Trey Lance and the offensive line play for the 49ers. Didn't really address the O line. You got a young QB. We'll see if he can win games for the team himself. All the other QBs, big time QBs, can do that. And that's what we're going to need this year. Um, tough schedule. It's going to be, it could end up bumpy, you know what I mean? It could end up going south real quick. But if you start stringing some wins together, the 49ers could end up the team to beat. It's just, we're in like one of those weird years where you don't know what's going to happen because of the quarterback position. Now,
Yeah.
what do you think? Say Jimmy G was the starter this year. Do you think what would you expect this team to do? You know,
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't feel like we didn't really, I don't know if you could say off this off season from the offensive side that we really got better. You know what I mean? Because we lost Alex Mack, which is a big thing. We lost Lakin Tomlinson, which is going to be big. So we lost a couple guys. So from the offense side, I don't know if you can get better. I think on the defensive side, like we said, we definitely got a lot better. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I think we'd obviously probably like a 10-6 again, kind of rough in patches, but still win a good amount of games.
yeah. If Jimmy was starting this year for me, I would say 7 wins. Seven
Seven
wins as a team.
wins?
Yes,
Wow.
because
Wow.
when did the 49ers lose last year? When Jimmy G got pressured, he would throw the game, and the O line is worse, a lot worse this year than last year. So with Jimmy G at QB, I think, and the schedule's tough. AFC West has tons of the best pass rushers in the league. NFC West, that's 7 to 8 games right there. Yeah, man. I think
But that's
7 wins with
interesting.
Jimmy. But I will say this: if Trey Lance, I think you have a broader ratio. You could win 2, 3, 4 games. You could win to like 10 or 11. With Jimmy, I think you're guaranteed like a 7, maybe 8 wins. With Trey, you could end up with like 4, or you could end up with like 11 because he brings some ability to combat that bad O line play that could possibly happen.
That's interesting because I feel like our team's always been led by the defense, and our defense got better. So I think if
I
Jimmy
agree.
could just even play with his mediocre play that he usually does, that we could do enough on offense to win because our defense is going to be very strong. Obviously, they're going to give up points, but I think Jimmy's and mainly Shanahan, realistically, his offensive scheme for Jimmy will allow him to be successful enough to where we could get like 10 wins. So I'm more banking on the defense being good rather than like Jimmy. You know what I mean? But
I'm
we'll
not.
see.
That man sold way too many games last year. Colts game, the defense tried their best, and we know a defense is going to break. In the NFL, it don't matter how much talent you have. That defense is going to break at some point. And the Colts game, the Titans game is my key example. Defense was playing their ass off, but then that man sold the game, throwing picks on our side of the field. So
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I agree though with Trey. You're either gonna have like 10 plus or you're gonna have like 3 or 4. I don't think you're really
Hmm.
gonna have like a mediocre 8 or whatever. You know what I mean? So that'll be interesting to see.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Is there
that
anything else that you're looking forward to?
nope. I'm excited for your interview next week. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna be on. I'm gonna be on vacation, so it's just gonna be Alex and Mr. Cross.
And we haven't
Did
told
you?
him who it is yet. You
Well,
just
we're
sold it
telling him
out.
it's Mr. Randy Cross for everyone watching. Super Bowl champion, played with all the great 49ers. Um, it's going to be a good interview. Make sure you guys tune in, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. I'm going to tune in and watch that. So, make sure you ask the good questions and get some good
Just to
info from
give
them.
some background on him, this isn't a little scrub. He is a 3-time Super Bowl champ, 3-time first team All Pro, and 3-time Pro Bowler. So he was a crucial part to that 49ers dynasty back in the 80s and 90s. So definitely tune in for that. It's going to be interesting to hear some of his answers to the questions about like how the team was back in the day. He got to experience Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, and Steve Young all coming onto the team. So tune in for sure. It'll be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for it.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got. Thanks
Yeah.
for everybody that tuned in. We appreciate it, and if you're sticking with us through this dead period, we appreciate it because we know there's not much happening at all right now. But hopefully soon, we could get back up and start getting our views up and everything.
Yeah. This is the last month without football until March of 2023. So something to look forward to.
Yep, we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.